As promised, as I mentioned, I would like to welcome in Ryan Abraham, who runs USCFootball.com. Ryan, what's going on, brother? Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, bye week, get a little break, but
There you go.
been a crazy season. It's been up and
Well,
down all over the place.
Well, listen, I really appreciate, I mentioned this to you. I'd sent you an email and you were nice enough to come join the show. I think USC football right now is a fascinating storyline, not for all the positive reasons, but I think they're a fascinating storyline. And I think there's a lot of people on here that would love a perspective of somebody that covers a team. So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Great to I've listened to you a bunch over the years, so it's great
Okay.
to be on with you. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. So let's start off with this. And for those who are hanging out, again, Ryan Abraham, USCFootball.com, taking some time to join the show. I see a lot of the comments on here, too, that are NBA related. I'll get back to those around 8:45 or so. Ryan, let's start off with this. And maybe I'm coming off the top rope on this one, but that's okay. That's all right on this one.
Right.
Lincoln Riley, the USC Trojans are 4-5 on the season. They are, at least so far, really, really struggling this year. Is Lincoln Riley, just your opinion on this, is he the head coach of the University of Southern California a year from now?
Yeah, I think he will be. I mean, losing 4 of your last 5 isn't good enough. I mean, you're one of the highest paid, top 5 highest paid coaches in the country. They went 7-5 the regular season last year. You start off beating LSU, and there's a lot of expectation of, wow, this team could make the playoff. And then to lose, they're 4-5. They had a lead in every fourth quarter.
Wow.
It's hard to have a lead in every fourth quarter and lose 5 of those games. So it's not good enough. It's something under the standard. But Pete Dowell reported, and we had heard this. His buyout is $90 million. So if you want to try to get out of this contract, if the athletic department wants to make a change, it's just not really possible at this point. We saw Jimbo Fisher get bought out for $76 million, and that was like double the biggest buyout we've ever seen. I think in this new age where now the athletic department has to share revenue with players coming up next season, I just don't think it's possible. And you've already asked boosters to provide this NIL money year after year and trying to build your roster, to go to them and say, hey, we need $90 million to get rid of the coach. So even if they want, I'm not saying they want to, but even if they did, I just don't think it's possible because of that buyout.
It's basically, I guess the question is, if it wasn't such a financial burden, like the reasons why you're explaining it, it's more from from a business sense. No, they got to kind of let this play out more. I was saying this a couple of weeks ago, and maybe I don't think my opinion has changed. I don't think they should fire him, and I think they should give him all of next year as well, and just kind of see how the dust settles. Do you have faith that he can turn the program around? Give me some reasons, if there's an SC fan listening, why you feel like that the worst is right now, but it's going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of fans are upset with him, but if you look at his track record, and just even when USC hired him, they'd never hired anybody with that kind of resume. Now, he was 55-10 at Oklahoma, conference championships, college playoff appearances, Heisman trophies. The last time USC hired like a proven college head coach was 100 years ago with Howard Jones. Like literally, that's how long it was.
Wow.
Everyone else was like, Pete Carroll was like a failed NFL. No, they've had some great coaches, John McKay, but none of them were like proven college head coaches like Lincoln Riley was. And he's lost 10 games in his last 16. So as many games as he had as Oklahoma. So certainly that's not good enough. I think there was positive signs last year. Probably took too long to make a shift on the defensive side, but in the offseason made a lot of great defensive hires. I think that defensive staff is really good. The bodies aren't quite there as far, and they've had some injuries, and it's just not helping them there. The concerning part is he's been an offensive guru, and this year the offense has taken a pretty big step back. We thought maybe taking a little, but then now they're changing quarterbacks and all that. So I think he's mostly been really good at coaching offense. This year hasn't been the case. If the defense is fixed and he can get the offense going again, then I think that gives you some hope that, hey, they can turn this thing around. The schedule wasn't that bad this year. They were set up to, like I said, they were winning in every fourth quarter. They could have won all those games, obviously. You could have made a run at the playoff this year. I think it's just concerning that they didn't. So if he got the defense right, I think this year helped it a lot. I think he's been shown he can do stuff on the offensive side. So I think that's where you would get hope that he can get that going, get his right quarterback, whatever he needs. They can have a really good team next year.
USC is 2-5 in the Big Ten. Their first year in the Big Ten. You know, I was joking around about this earlier in the week that UCLA's 2-4, and they got their chest out like, yeah, you know, look at us in front of USC. I think, you know, this is a question I would have as far as the Big Ten goes. To have the season that they're having, to have the question marks about Lincoln Riley, how much can that affect just your recruiting, and how much can that a window where you're struggling like they are right now in the short term, knowing that Indiana's undefeated, Oregon's the number one team in the country, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan will eventually turn around. There's a lot of good teams in the Big Ten. Do you worry that just is this kind of the world in college football that we're in right now? If you have just one bad year or a year and a half, it could really affect what the next year or two looks like.
I mean, it potentially could, I think, but you would also see a team like Indiana, who was 3-9 last year, and now they're 9-0, which is crazy.
Wow.
You can turn things around quickly with the transfer portal, and we saw Lincoln Riley do that himself, 4-8 to 11 wins. But it is concerning. I think when you go into this new conference, you would love to make a big splash, and they had the biggest win the conference had, you know, week 1, beating LSU. It was sort of like the Big Ten were like, hey, we got to win over an SEC program, you know, even though Michigan got trucked and you know, Wisconsin eventually got crushed by SEC teams. USC got that win, but since then they haven't been able to win on the road. They keep blowing games. You want to make a splash like Oregon did, and they came in and they're just like gangbusters. And USC had that potential. I don't think they were. They wasn't a national championship type of roster, but it was good enough that they could have actually got into the playoff. And USC's never made the playoffs, so it would have been a big deal in year 1 to maybe beat Michigan and Penn State and things like that and say, hey, we're here to play. Now you're kind of an afterthought. So I don't think it helps, certainly. And it's not good for the team morale. It's not good for fan interaction. If you were upset that you were going to join the Big Ten, you're not really happy about it now either. But there was a real opportunity for USC to kind of make not a splash like Oregon, but a pretty good statement. And it just kind of fell flat.